What's up, guys? Your real estate agent Tyler Wehrung here, and today we're going to talk about 5 things you need to think through, 5 questions you need to ask yourself and have a good confidence level in prior to buying your first or your next home. So these are more internal things to make sure you feel good about so that you don't put yourself in a position that later you'll regret. Often for folks, buying a home becomes their single largest asset in their life, so you want to make sure you don't just do this on a whim and you actually think through it clearly. So with that, let's jump in. All right, guys, so question number 1. All right, why is it important for me to buy a house? So this is a great question, and make sure you really think through, because often we hear folks that say, I need to get out of my mom's basement. I really need to stop renting. I'm throwing money away on rent, which actually isn't true. If you buy a plane ticket or you buy a concert ticket, we don't think about it in the same terms of throwing money away. When you're renting a home or an apartment, you are still getting value for your money every month. It isn't going towards principal and paying down a balance, but at the same time, that is not a good enough reason to buy a home because you feel like you're throwing money away on rent. Also, when it comes to why is it important for me to buy a home is, you really need to think through what the next couple of stages of your life look like. When you're buying, you really need to have a long-term mindset in play. Most people stay in their home between 5 to 7 years. So, if you don't have a solid career plan yet, if your job might not be as stable, you may potentially have to move soon. It might not be the best idea to lock yourself into such a permanent position. You're not very mobile when you own a home. There are some flexibility. There is some flexibility in terms of renting it out or doing things differently, but that's something you really need to have a good understanding of. Truly deep down, why do I want this? Is it so I can tell people I have a home, or do I truly need a home and I'm financially ready to move to that next level in life? All right, so step number 2. All right, question number 2, and ignore the bad handwriting. What is my financial health? So this is something you really need to think through and make sure you have a good understanding of where you are today and how that lines up with where you ideally would like to be before you're in a position to make that purchase. So questions you need to think through or research that you need to perform to kind of audit your financial health. Number 1, do you know what you spend in a month? What's your monthly spend rate? Doesn't have to be down the dollar. Every month is going to be different, but you should know the upper and lower bounds of what you typically spend and how you typically allocate your budget. If you are brand new to this and you want to take a step in, highly recommend an app called Mint, IMNT.com. It has a really easy smartphone app. You link all your accounts to it, and it kind of does all the heavy lifting for you. I think if you sign up, it'll actually even look back on a past couple months and give you kind of what your spend rate is. But you need to understand that because you'll want to know how your new housing situation will fit into your current budget and current spend and savings goals. The next thing you need to know about is what is your credit score and what does your credit overall model look like. If you're not familiar with your current rate, there are a couple sites out there. I think annualcreditreport.com, you get 2 or maybe 1 or 2 free reports per year, but you need to have an understanding of either 1, what it is, and then if it's not where you want it to be, what are the factors that are causing it to not be great, and what can you do to make it better. So happy to talk with you more about that. We'll shoot another video on credit scores and a link to it below. But for now, just make sure you know where that is. Next, another part of this question is, what's your savings rate? What, as a percent of your overall gross income, how much of that are you saving and putting aside, whether it's for an emergency, a rainy day fund, or just your future goals in general? You just need to have a good understanding of that. And then lastly, we have here, try to understand what you want your post-closing liquidity to look like. So that means post-closing, after you buy a home, what is the liquid amount of cash that you will feel comfortable having? We always try to recommend you have at least 3 to 4, 5,000 ideally sitting in a side fund just for things that could go wrong with your new purchase. So if you have a total of 10,000 and you're going to buy a home, that means you can only put 5 towards it to have another 5 in post-closing liquidity. So just understand what that number is for you, what your risk tolerance level is, and how comfortable you would feel taking a big chunk of your savings and putting it in for a down payment that you no longer have access to. All right, question number 3. All right, what are my housing needs? You notice it says needs, not wants. All right, so you need to think through, again, a 5 to 7 year plan. What does your life look like in 5 to 7 years from now? We talk to a lot of young couples who go out and they look for a 2-bedroom home, but have a goal to want to settle down and start having 2, 3, 4 kids. Maybe a 2-bedroom home is not ideal for that situation. It may be beneficial for you to wait for another year, save up some more funds, and maybe look for a 3 to 4 bedroom home or an area with extra space that you can have for kids. Also, in the opposite situation, folks who have kids in high school go out and buy a 4-bedroom home knowing they'll be empty nesters in the next 3 to 4 years, and it may not be an ideal home for the long term. So think through the needs. Obviously, you have to consider what your current needs are today, but also try to project out 5 to 7 years from now. Also, things that go into the needs category, and needs and wants, but do you want dogs? Do you want a busy street? Do you need a fenced-in yard? What kind of yard do you want? How much time do you plan to allocate to kind of taking care of a yard, landscaping, things like that? Or do you want to be in a city where things are mostly taken care of for you? So really think through and understand, what is my goal and what would be a great setting for me? All right, question number 4. All right, question number 4, what is my time frame to buy? When do I want to be making this purchase? And so this goes back to a couple other things on here, but you need to understand your current situation, that financial health. Where's my credit score? If you found something in the earlier step, maybe you're not where you want to be. What's a goal in mind to get there? Is it 6 months from now? Do you think you might need a year? And then start trying to look and get a feel for the housing market and that time frame that you're looking at. Are you currently in a lease? Most folks don't know you're not really able to get out of a lease unless you have a good relationship with your landlord or a property management company. But that's something you're going to want to have a conversation with them around. And if you're going to have to fulfill the remainder of your lease, give yourself a 30-day buffer, because things with closing on a house could go a little awry, or maybe have a place to stay in the meantime, because lining up the end of a lease and moving into and purchasing a new home, there's a lot of things that have to go right for that to be in sync. So just have some backup plans in place around the time frame you're looking to buy. Also, if your savings rate, if your savings goals, or the funds that you'll need for a down payment aren't where you want them to be, also put a plan in place to get there and understand what that looks like for you. All right, and question number 5. All right, so question number 5, what can I afford? This does not say what did the bank pre-approve me for. It's what can you actually afford. So based on the steps above, understanding your budget, your current savings rate, what your goals are for a home, you need to understand what is the house that you need, what can you buy to check all the boxes that you can actually afford and live with. Do not put yourself in a situation where you're going to be house poor, or putting everything you have into a house and not able to do some of the other fun things in life. We see this way too often, and folks rely on the bank to tell them what they can afford rather than understanding their internal budget and how their spending goals are. Also, a lot of folks assume that housing or buying a house is cheaper than renting. We made another video about the hidden cost of home ownership that we'll link to over here, but really think through that, and it's not as cut and dry as it might seem. All right, guys, so the most important thing is that you guys think through these and have a good confidence level in your answers and a good confidence in yourself when you're walking through these. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you have more house than you need, more house than you can afford, or you buy before you're actually ready. So just really take the time to walk through these. If you're not comfortable or this is all still new to you, ask somebody in your family that you respect, ask a friend or family to maybe take a look at your situation and get their thoughts. As always, if you have any questions for us, I'd be more than happy to chat with you about your situation and your goals and to put you on the right path to home ownership. If you found this helpful or you know somebody kind of in this situation, we'd appreciate a share, a smash on the like button, or a subscribe to the channel so YouTube knows we are putting things out there worth watching. And with that, I'm Tyler Wehrung with Keller Williams, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.